mountain here in Benidorm. Taxi driver said this is that little notch there. No, they think it's natural. No one knows what it is or how it got there. The legend is that the missing chunk is behind me as a small island right off the coast here. Somehow it blew off from there into the... And if you look at the island, it has like a weird shape, kind of like that. It's kind of bizarre. But just amazing formation for being natural.
Ja, hele grote roos. Maar een eiland lijkt wel de stok van daar, als je het ziet. Yeah?
Now, the story gets more interesting. The locals, talk to more people about this, the locals think, or say, the legend goes, that a giant kicked the mountain and shot that piece as the island, which is now a nature reserve just off the coast here. So it's a giant. Legends of giants.
So right, I'm just going to cut in here and give you a little more background on this legend because it's quite interesting. And once again, if we take Genesis, so if we go to Genesis 6 and we read, we'll start with verse 1, we'll just keep reading. The number of people increased all over the earth, and daughters were born to them. The sons of Elohim, not the son of man, but the sons of Elohim, saw the daughters of other humans were beautiful. So they married any woman they chose. Then Jehovah, that's God, said, My spirit will not struggle with humans forever because they are flesh and blood. They will live 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days. Now there's debate on what that means, but most people agree it means fallen angels. As well as later, when the sons of Elohim slept with the daughters of other humans and had children by them. These children were famous long ago. Now, King James says they were of, legends and renowned of, or something like that. And this is the Names of God Bible, but you get the idea. These children were famous long ago. They were like the legendary figures of long ago, like the gods with a smaller g. And they were giant. The Bible goes on later to explain that these Nephilim were giants. And there was different races of Nephilim, or different types of Nephilim, and different sizes. So that's very interesting. Just to keep in your mind as we read here. So the backstory was, as you just heard, we were in Alicante, and this notch is just visible everywhere you drive around. You see this notch. It's just like, wow, that's really weird. So I just figured it was some kind of mining activity. It looks like a perfectly cut out thing from long ago. It's clearly been it happened long ago, whatever it was. But so we asked the taxi driver, and she explained, no one knows what it is. I was like, no one knows what it is? Huh. She says, yeah, it's a mystery. No one knows what it is. Some say it's the island out there. So then later we asked somebody else, or actually a friend of ours on the tour we were with the soccer club. He said, yeah, I just heard from the lady that notch was the giant kicked it out into the sea because he was angry. And that's the island out there. It was a giant that did that. So interesting. And then later we heard, no, it wasn't kicked out. It wasn't kicked out. It was punched out. So there's all different variations of this legend. And they all basically explain the same thing. The giant, punched out or kicked out or cut out and throw it in the ocean. So what I've learned with my research afterwards is interesting, so let's go jump into that now. The Giant of Benidorm Spain, the Legend of Roldan, adds a mythical charm to the landscape of Benidorm. In the story, the giant Roldán, a historic figure, a heroic figure, took his sword to strike the Puig Campana mountain. That's the name of the mountain up there. And this created the interesting, dramatic notch visible today, which we all can see on the video. And if you're there, you can't miss it. It follows you around wherever you are in the city, it seems. The fragment of rock that broke off is said to have landed in the Mediterranean Sea, probably rolling to some degree, and is today the island you see right off of Benidorm beaches, and it's called Benidorm Island in short. Beyond this legend, just to make note, Benidorm Island has a rich history of human activity backing back to the Neolithic era, approximately 7,000 years ago. Interesting, right around the Younger Dryas time, right? So who knows what was there before, or what was in that area before. Archaeological findings on the island reveal evidence of early settlers who likely use it for fishing and temporary shelter. The combination of myth and history make it an intriguing destination for visitors interested in natural beauty and cultural storytelling. Yeah, don't we love that? The Legend of Roldan, also known as Roland in French folklore, it's also a name people use today, intertwines with myth and geography in the stunning setting of Benidorm and the Puig Campana mountain. The story, which has been passed down through generations, varies slightly depending on the source, but it always features the larger-than-life figure of Roldán, a hero of Carolingian epic tales. So now, the Legend of Roland and the Puig Campana. According to the legend, Roland was a giant and a warrior famed for his strength and heroic deeds. In this particular tale, Roldán was in love with a beautiful maiden who tragically fell gravely ill. Despite his superhuman abilities, Roldán was powerless to save her. As the sun began to set on the horizon, marking the final moments of her life, Roldán was struck with desperation. Determined to give her as much sunlight as possible before her death, Roldán swung his massive sword with all his might at the Puig Campana mountain. His struck cleaved a large chunk from the mountain, creating a distinct notch visible to this day. The sunlight poured through the gap he created, extending her final moments in the warmth of daylight. The piece of the mountain that Roldán struck off tumbled into the Mediterranean Sea, where it became the Benidorm Island, or as locals call it, La Isla del Benidorm. Historical and mythical origins. Roldán is a figure from La Chanson de Roland, the Song of Roland, an 11th century epic poem. In this French legend, he is a brave knight serving Charlemagne and becomes a symbol of loyalty and heroism. The local legend of Puig Campana adapts this character, blending the larger European folklore with the specific geography and cultural of the Benidorm region. Variations of the story. While the above tale is the most common, other versions suggest that Roland kicked the mountain in a fit of anger or sorrow, like I just explained, sending the rock into the sea. Some versions even omit the romantic aspect, focusing instead on the superhuman strength and his interactions with the landscape. And some people just say it really short and just sounds like an angry giant was kicking or punching his way through the landscape, which wasn't the case. He was deeply in love and saddened. So this story obviously has metaphorical, it's quite dramatic, and it's hard to say whether it's true or not. I mean, we just don't know. That's the beauty of legends. But legends stem from somewhere. And if you're there, it's quite obvious that notch is not natural. And it could very well be. Geography is amazing. It could, God's amazing. It could just have fallen out naturally. But then when you see the island from perspective down below at the beach, and you see this, it looks like exactly that chunk that came out of there. Yeah, it's quite intriguing. It's very interesting. Now get this. Perplexity gives me a totally different version of the legend, which is much more violent. So the most well-known version of the legend involves a warrior named Roldán, also known as Roland, who was part of Charlemagne's army. That part we learned about. But according to them, to this tale, and they have the sources here, which I'll link, Roldán engaged in a fierce battle with a Moorish chieftain on the mountain's summit. Moorish people came from northern Africa, and Spain is, of course, right there by northern Africa, just a small channel away. As Roldan was about to defeat his opponent, he struck a powerful blow with his sword, Duran Darte. The Moorish leader dodged the attack, causing Roldan's sword to strike the mountain instead. The force of the blow was so great that it created the square-shaped gash we see today, known as El Tajo de Roldan, Roland's cut, or El Portal, the gate. The piece of rock cut from the mountain rolled down into the sea, forming the island of Benidorm. I mean, isn't that amazing? I mean, that's just incredible. I wish I had time to hike up there, because it would have been just amazing to go up there. So you can gaze at that notch and, romanticize it with the idea that there was a giant, probably a friendly giant, that was just grieved by the sickness of his love of his life. So that's a very, very interesting one. Now, there's more legends of giants in Alicante. The guardian of Alicante's castle. And we were here. Put in some footage of this as well. I heard a different legend of this one, but this is interesting. Because our guy didn't know of anything about giants. He had another folklore about the face, which I'll cut in here as well. Santa Barbara Castle in Alicante is sometimes linked to a mythical giant who is said to guard the fortress. The giant was believed to protect a hidden treasure beneath the castle. Stories often describe travelers encountering the giant spirit, who either aids them in times of great need or challenges their intentions if they seek the treasure for selfish reasons. Interesting. Yeah, there's a face there. It has a very interesting tail. I'll cut it in here.
So the photo, that is the Alicante mountain over there, where you see the structure. Try to see if you see any familiar shape.
Familiar shape?
A shape over there, maybe. Do you see anything?
I see a face.
Like a face, right?
Yeah.
It's the Moor face. In Spanish we call people from northern Africa Moros.
The Moors, yeah.
Moors.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's the Moor mountain.
Ah, yeah.
There is a legend that says that there was a Muslim governor who had a daughter. That daughter fell in love with a Christian prince, and he didn't want a Christian with a Muslim princess to be united. So what he did was to avoid the union by incarcerating the Christian prince. And when she prayed to her and begged him to release him because he incarcerated it, he said, if by tomorrow Alicante turns white, I'm going to go ahead and release your loved one. Was just pure cynicism. And but of course the other morning, the next morning, everything was white. Why? Because all almond trees were blooming. And so she said, okay, are you going to commit to releasing my loved one? And he said, of course not. And he felt very ridiculized by how things were, and he executed the Christian prince. She committed suicide onto the other part of the Alicante mountain, but before that she prayed to Allah for a punishment for her father. And so when he died, it's been said that Allah turned into a stone. Well, it's not historically based, but it's let's say how the legends or how the narration try to impose to one another. I want to believe, and it's so that the two cultures were living together and creating beautiful things until just the two last centuries in the 15th the 5th century AC, when everything started going sideways and the Christians started claiming for the territory and the Arabs started losing power, when the cultural conflict really started. For that, it was something more productive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
yeah, interesting.
And also,
there could obviously be a lot of folklore involved in this, and a way to explain to the ancients about certain things in the landscape. That said, we all know that the Bible talks of giants, and there have been numerous findings of giant bones throughout history, right? I mean, for instance, the link below, I'll put a link to the interview we did with Mrs. Monk about the giants of Lovelock in Nevada, central northern Nevada, and that's a very interesting tale. Her parents found giant bones all over the property, And the Indians of that region have a tale of a giant that they had to slaughter because there was that race of giants that were eating the people. And these giants were significantly larger, like 12 to 15 feet taller, and or they were 12 to 15 feet, the giants, and they roamed around munching on people. And they came from the Death Valley area, and they roamed up more northerly. And this interview with her will just explain how the Paiute legends talk of this, but her own family found bones. Her family had vast areas, back there, back in the Wild West times, basically. Still kind of Wild West out there in Nevada, right? Beautiful, beautiful country. You should really get out there. Lots of legends, lots of stories of giants out there as well. So these are all very enlightening and enrich the allure to Alicante region and the beautiful weather down there in Spain and the friendly people and the soothing seas, and there's so much to do and so many adventures out there. So I hope you enjoyed this story. I'll put in some more footage now of around Benidorm, viewing the notch. It's just everywhere you look. And yeah, have a great day and take care. Okay, so here's Benidorm in Spain. Beautiful location. And if we go to the mountain that we see with the notch, I could have showed you, it's right up there. So you see it's a mountain forming part of the prebiotic system in the southeast of Spain, an altitude of 1,400 meters, or about 3,000 feet, second highest peak in the province of Alicante. And there we can see the island. And we can see the notch coming into view. So from down below, it's quite visible. The city when you're there, it's pretty amazing. You see here on the beach, there's that notch in the mountain. And if we slowly zoom out here, there's the city of Benidorm on the sea here. And we just scan over this way, and you see exactly where that thing landed. Well, whether it's true or not, I don't know, but it sure looks like something came out of the mountain. It looks kind of like that piece. Maybe an asteroid strike? Who knows? Maybe a giant. There's the island, right here off the coast. Kind of fits the story. Giant kicked it and curved it right into there. Pretty wild. Yeah, this Benidorm is, speaking about giants, it's a pretty giant city. Didn't expect it. Oh, I see two faces on it to the left.
Ik denk dat Mark helemaal gek wordt van je.